Sarah Hepla.
Good morning, Nancy Robelman. Have you gone viral recently?
Not only have I gone viral with that post,
You're still going
I'm
viral.
still going viral. Barstool Sports found me on Twitter today. So this is the thing. If you're on Twitter, you get messages, private messages, and then there's like little hidden ones, but now they have this little thing. It's like, you have a message there. So I was like, okay, what is this? And it's Barstool Sports saying, hey, we love your photo. We're going to be featuring some stuff. Can we use it? We'll credit you. And by the way, we might be giving some lucky few people some Knicks tickets. I'm like, use it. But yeah, so keep an eye out. You might see my
Barstool
photo.
Sports slid into your DMs.
Yeah, they
Are
did.
you going to start sexting with Barstool Sports now? What if this was just a pretext to start a conversation with the hot internet personality named Nancy Rommelman? You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, hey, how can they resist, Sarah? Really? You know. Anyway,
Can I tell
look,
you something about yourself today?
you can.
First of all, I am noticing that Mikhail Gorbachev splotch in your armpit. Uh,
It is.
that's your oil. That's
It's
your
much.
oil
It's much better.
burn.
That was my burn, my oil burn. But you know what? It's interesting. It's a scar. I haven't had like when you're a kid, you get scars all the time. You're falling down. Something's happening. It's
I
my
was an
first.
introvert, but go ahead.
Okay, I got a lot of scars. This is my first like real scar in years. And it's got like some mass. Like it's super sexy. Anyway, yes, that's my. I'm
Yeah,
still
and
keeping
she's pointing to her armpit. If we have any armpit kink
fetishes. Yeah,
fetishists, just know that
yeah.
there was a lot of armpit action there. No, I was going to say something else about what you're wearing. I really like. Is this your nightgown?
It is one of my mother's Pucci nightgowns from the early 1970s, but you can wear it as
It's
a top.
so
It's
hot. It's
Thank you.
so cute.
It's cute. It's cute. Yes. So I'm going to wear it today because it's very hot here today. I'm wearing shorts and a Pucci tops and my Converse, as all good Knicks fans should be wearing today because game one
Okay,
is
go
tonight.
Spurs. I'm going to start being super for the Spurs just to annoy you. They're
Okay.
Texas versus New York. Go home. Get out of here, Yankee.
Okay. Here's the thing. I will admit, I love the Spurs. I love that team. I love Castle. I love Wemby. I love their heart. They're so young. They're all like under 25. I love them. And if I could root for both teams, and maybe secretly I would.
Mm.
But I got to go next. First game tonight, game one of the finals tonight. So I'll be watching. You going to watch?
No. Can I ask you a question? What's a Nick?
The
Like
Knickerbockers. It's from the
what's that?
I don't know. It's some New York term. The Knickerbockers. I don't
Okay,
really
so
know.
you don't Knickerbockers is like, oh, hello,
That's the Knickerbockers. Yeah,
we
yeah.
sell we're the newsies.
Exactly. I think I used to know, but I don't anymore. So there we go. We'll look it up.
Okay. Can I ask you a personal question?
You may.
What are you doing this Sunday?
I'll be upstate. And then Sunday evening, 8
Mhm.
p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific, there is going to be Pacific. There is going to be a First Sunday with us for paid subscribers. I have to be frank. This morning I asked a question. Is the game on Sunday? Because there's a game tonight, there's a game on Friday, and usually it's every other day, but I think I was informed that it's Monday. Because if it were Sunday,
Oh, that would be a problem.
well, I'd be like that Seinfeld episode where George Costanza's like, he wants to do three things at once. He wants to be having sex, eating, and watching sports. So like he's in bed, like with the sandwich,
That's funny.
lifting it up. So I'm like, maybe I'm going to have like the sports on over here while we think, but I think it's Monday. So I think we're good.
Okay,
So,
good. Yeah, no, I'm proud of you. You remembered that we have a first Sunday Zoom hang on Sunday.
Yes.
That is for paid subscribers. It's a good hang. Come join us, be one of us. We got a lot to talk about. Where do you want to start today?
Well, we definitely are going to talk about Platner, but a whole bunch of stuff happened with 60 Minutes in the past couple of days, which just, we started this cycle. I think it was actually with the first Trump, when Trump was announced for president. And, we can sort of chart what was happening in cities. I could certainly see it in Portland when everybody started, their hair sprung on fire and it was us versus them and he was the enemy. And it seems to me what's happening at CBS right now is, if not a denouement, that it's a symptom again of the us versus them. And the
Hmm.
us, I mean, I'm watching, I'm a spectator, but if I had to choose a position, so should I tee this up? People may not
Yeah.
know what we're talking about. Okay, so obviously everybody knows what 60 Minutes is. Barry Weiss came in to run CBS a couple of months ago. There is something called Barry Weiss derangement syndrome. She gets there, everybody, and I'm prefacing Barry is a good friend of mine, so you should know that. They're just like she's just the enemy. She represents to them a very anti-woke. She represents what they feel that they need to fight against. First of all, this is actually not true, but it doesn't matter what the reality is. This is the image that she has. So they're fighting her. They're fighting her. She does some things with 60 Minutes. She takes an episode that was going to air and she pulls it for a little while to get more reporting. It eventually goes on the air, but everybody's angry. So she named someone. What is his name?
Nick Bilton.
Nick Bilton. He came in. He's now going to be heading up the. You're my fact person. He's now the head of the news division. Is that what he is?
I mean, he's the new head of 60 Minutes.
New
And
head of.
I think the unusual thing about this guy is that he doesn't have broadcast journalism a background, but he is a big deal journalist. I mean, he used to be at the New York Times. He then went to Vanity Fair. He's written books on Twitter. He wrote a movie with Scorsese that hasn't, I don't think, come out yet. Um, but he is, I think, an unconventional hire in the same mold that Barry is in some ways.
Mhm.
This is a really, really smart, enterprising person that also is outside the establishment of what 60 Minutes is. And one thing's interesting about 60 Minutes. Look, yes, everybody knows what 60 Minutes is, but I was sort of under this impression that my parents were the last living Americans to watch 60 Minutes. Like, they love it so much. And every time I go over on Sunday, like, I know it's going to be on. They're not. It's still really well rated. And I have been surprised at the depth of feeling for 60 Minutes because there's a lot of things that, they're American institutions, but, okay, where they're sort of past their prime. It's like, no, people, it's a little bit like the restaurant you stopped going to 10 years ago, but you still don't want to see it change ownership. I think there's a little bit of that going on. Like, I'm not fully believing that all these people really watch 60 Minutes every Sunday. But it is still really highly rated, and it is an institution in people's living room. It's a fixture of people's lives. And so this guy Nick Bilton comes in, and there's a shakeup there. There's a power struggle. So I'll cede it back to you.
Well, I want to say something about it. It is an institution. I don't know, for instance, my daughter, who is in her 30s, I don't know if she's ever watched 60 Minutes. I don't know if she has any nostalgia for it.
No.
We grew up with it. Your parents are still watching it. I've probably watched 2 episodes of 60 Minutes in the past decade because it was like some kind of big deal.
Well, we
Um,
watched the Ben Sass interview.
yes, this is true. But like that was like one of the two. I
Yeah, but
think
and it was also a clip. We weren't watching it on
no,
on our
no.
TV on
Okay,
Sunday. Yeah.
this is okay. We were not watching it on our TV. We have TVs.
Hmm.
The people, if CBS wants to survive, all right, they need to not just get your parents and us, they need to get the people that are in their 20s and 30s. And those people do not own televisions. Okay. So they're
Hmm.
not going to be sitting around. It's not the family thing. You have to capture them and make yourself relevant to them. This is, let, hello, newspapers used to be incredibly profitable because everybody read several papers a day. Now there are hardly any newspapers. I mean, you're at one of the surviving newspapers in this country. So I don't know what Barry's plan is coming in, but I do know that when she was hired, it was probably because you don't want to get the same people in there that have been running it, the traditional people. You need to have people come in that are going to have different ideas. So, yeah, maybe you don't want a broadcast journalist that's been doing it for 25 years because that's what they know how to do.
That's
Okay.
right.
So now you have Nick Bilton come in, and they're going to have, I think the message was, if I'm reading this properly, Bilton had invited, what is his? I can't. I'm not. Scott Pelley, who is one of
Pelley, Scott
Pelley.
Pelley.
Scott Pelley.
Pele is a soccer player.
And my friend who's staying in my apartment right now, a gal. Okay. Yeah, not Pele, the soccer player. Rest in peace. Pele to have dinner. That is my understanding. He invited him to have a dinner to talk about the future of 60 Minutes. Pele didn't want to do that. Okay.
It's Pelley, Nancy.
Pelley,
it's
Pelley,
Scott Pelley. Let's say it together. Scott Pelley.
Pelley. Okay.
Yeah.
Pelley didn't want to do that. So instead, there was the first big meeting with Bilton and meanwhile, several people, I think 3 people from 60 Minutes had been let go. All right. Now, look, if you've been part of the 60 Minutes family for 15 years, or however long you've been there, and you're already mad at Barry Weiss and Ellison who bought it, and you think that they're the devil, and 3 of your peeps get fired, you're going to have a fire under your ass. And Pelley apparently did. He's also probably the sort of senior statesman over there. He looks to me like he's in his mid-60s, something like that. Okay. So now it's the big meeting. And Bilton comes in, and I guess there's like bagels, and they're going to talk, and there's
bagels. Oh, there's bagels? Oh, I want to go to the meeting now.
That's right. I wasn't invited, damn it.
Damn it.
They want to have a meeting to talk about the future. And Pelley is not having it. Pelley basically says to his new boss, with everybody there, probably a lot of those people behind him, probably some secretly not, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He says, you're murdering. You're murdering 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of other stuff, which was immediately leaked. And you have to think it's probably what Pelley wanted.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because he is now going to be the person. I'm taking a stand.
He's taking a stand. Nancy, he's taking a stand.
That's right. Performatively, publicly, he's going to be the hero here. Now, I went and hung out after the Fifth Column guys taped yesterday. Went and hung out with them. And apparently at one point, Matt said, okay, so if you were Nick Bilton and all of a sudden Pele stands up and both Camila and Mike
Pelley, honey, I'm sorry to interrupt your story. I should have let you just go.
It rhymes with Nelly. Okay.
Exactly.
Anyway, before Matt could finish his sentence, apparently Michael and Camila were like, fired.
Yeah.
How do you stand up in front of everybody to your new boss and just dress him down and call him a murderer? You know what's going to happen.
It's wild, and I mean, this is a foregone conclusion. There's only one thing that can happen now, which is Scott Pelley has to go. But it's really it's actually really an interesting story. I'll be very interested to see how it unfolds. I'm going to say, I do think, and I do think Barry is a little over her skis there. How could you not be? How could you not be? You have been put in charge of CBS News, and you have no background in journalism. In broadcast journalism.
Okay, but hold on. Okay, again, yes, I love how the New York Times always says, she was an opinion columnist. Yeah, she was an opinion columnist that has also gone on to found the Free Press. Okay.
Yeah.
She has been doing some things. She wasn't like she was just sitting at home sucking her thumb. Also, okay, you don't have broadcast journalism experience, but what's happening to broadcast journalism? It's dying. So
no, totally. And by the way, they just did that to Nick Bilton. They called him a tech journalist, and I was like, wait a minute, he's done a bunch of other things. There's a weird minimizing over there, and I don't know exactly what that's about. But because hold on. There's a lot
What
of
is
background noise in my life. Can you
it's
hear
a
this?
it's like a bird scratching at the window. Chee, chee,
Yeah,
chee.
it's
Feed
let's
me.
just say that's what it is. It's actually like work in the yard. It's like
Okay. Okay.
yeah. But anyway, I didn't know that was gonna be happening at 7:30 in the AM. Um, but anyway, yeah, it's like this is an interesting standoff. Okay, so this is what Mr. Bilton. I'm reading from the New York Times. They do that stupid thing where they use Mr.
I had to
Okay,
do that. Wall Street Journal does that too. And we're
so stupid. Okay, so Bilton writes back after that. He says, "You hijacked my meeting with staff to disparage me, my qualifications, and my intentions with remarkable incivility and contempt." He goes on to call that a performative display of hostility that demonstrated you have no interest in contributing to the future success of the show. Um, Scott Pelley says of this comment that it betrays a complete misunderstanding of what we work for and what we live for at 60 Minutes. Well, I'm going to say one thing. What happens at 60 Minutes is going to change, Scott Pelley, if you are not there.
That's right. Also, I mean, what is the consensus? What's going to happen? Pelly's going to go over to Substack, like some other people that have left their positions at major networks. And he's going to get a lot of, people in the resistance, and he's going to make a lot of money real quick. And okay. And I personally, I don't even know how to say the guy's name because I don't even know who he is. If he's
Scott.
relevant, if he's relevant to millions, to all of America, he is America's sweetheart. Great. Let them go support him on Substack.
Well, here's the problem that Scott Pelley is facing, which is that, like, when you leave 60 Minutes and you're like, I quit, where do you go? Like, do you start a show on Twitter? Like you said, he could go to Substack and get some scratch, but it's like, this is sort of a Tucker Carlson problem, and Carlson has actually done a remarkable job of creating whatever. I don't watch the
Yeah.
show and I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
like what he's done, but I'm just saying in terms of being able to continue. But like broadcast journalism, what are you going to do? Go to TikTok?
Okay. TikTok. So what's going to happen? Apparently, he was making $5 million a year, so he probably doesn't need the money. He's probably fine. He looks to me to be like in his mid 60s, right? Maybe he can just become a hero of the resistance. He can just go around the country. He can go to dinners at fabulous people's places and talk about how bad Barry Weiss is and how terrible Donald Trump is, and that's just going to be his new persona.
Well, he's going to get a lot of speaking engagements. That's I can tell you that.
Okay,
He's going
yeah.
to he's going to
So
clean up
great.
with a speakers bureau.
And I do not particularly find him to be appealing. And I also believe that you got to give these people that have been brought in to CBS a chance. You don't know what they're going to do. They might not know what they're going to do. You're going to try a lot of different things. You're going to throw a lot of stuff at the wall. Some is going to work, some isn't. It may be the case that network television just can't it just cannot survive even looking like what it looked like 5 years ago. We don't know. So I'm willing to take a chance on people that are going to try new things. And I believe Barry's going to do that. So I
Yeah, like
wish
I
them
said, it'll be
all
super
the best.
interesting. It'll be super interesting to see
Yep.
what they do because they do need to
Yep.
reinvent this format. It was, I don't know when 60 Minutes was started. What, the 60s, 70s?
Yeah. I'd 60s. I think it was
I
around in
mean,
the
it's
60s.
it's a
Yeah.
news magazine show. Even that phrase doesn't make sense in the 21st century because what's a magazine? It's like it needs to be re-envisioned, but it's also cherished, and that's a really hard thing to do. Um, One thing I will say is I read the New York Times story about the firing today, and I always find New York Times commenters to be pretty reasonable. Um, oh my God, they hate Barry Weiss.
That
Oh my
I
God. The universal championing for Scott Pelley, hero, willing to step up and finally call truth in, power into account. I was really surprised because like 700 comments and I was just scrolling, scrolling, scrolling.
I just have to tell you, I know her, and she is so not as represented in with the Barry derangement syndrome. It just isn't so. But you know what? I sent her a little text yesterday, like kisses from your forever friend, because
Oh, well, that's nice.
you
I
gotta,
really like Barry. I
she's great.
don't know her as well as you do.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like I said, and I mean this with love. I think she would probably, off the record, probably agree with this. Seems a little bit over her skis, a little too much going on. But this is exciting, and she has certainly risen to many occasions.
Yep. Girl lands on her feet. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see.
absolutely.
Like, I actually might tune into 60 Minutes now because of this. And that's never a trouble thing, right? No press is bad press. Like, maybe people are now like, oh, 60 Minutes. I've heard of it. Don't really watch it. But maybe I'm going to watch it. I can't watch it. Well, maybe I will watch it this week because we don't go on till 8 o'clock. Maybe that's what I'm going to do on Sunday night.
Maybe,
I'm going to watch
maybe.
60 Minutes. So, paid
Yeah, see what
subscribers,
happens.
we can talk about it if anybody else
It
wants to
has a
watch it
cool
this
that
Sunday.
that little. I'm thinking about how all the different signifiers of that show don't make sense though. Like even the ticking clock, tick 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 tick. People don't have stopwatches anymore like that. They have digital.
I
Anyway, it
have a
doesn't
watch.
matter.
I have a regular watch.
Yeah, I know people have regular watches. I went overboard. I'm over my skis.
Okay,
We have
so
other things to talk
yeah, we
about.
do. We have a political candidate we wanted to talk about. We
Yeah,
don't.
I don't like talking about politics
I
because I
know.
find it
I
boring
know.
and corrupt. But there is a story out there right now that I find very interesting, culturally interesting. And I got really sucked into it. And so I want to tell you a story, Nancy. Do you want to hear a story that I
I
have to
do.
tell?
Hold on.
Okay,
Let me
this
get
is
my pillow.
yeah, get your
Yeah.
pillow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's about the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And the Democratic Party in around 2024, 25, they realized they have a problem. The party, it was once like a champion of the working class, but it's become a party of elites. It's a bunch of college espresso drinkers. And meanwhile, young men are flooding over to the Republicans. Young men, because the Democratic Party has a dude problem. And we can talk about why that might be and what happened, but let's agree it was happening. And so they realize that they need some good, strong, masculine working class energy in the party, and they find a guy. Okay? They find this guy in Maine named Graham Platner. This guy is a Marine veteran. He was in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he's got some good military service cred. Because we know one of the problems in the Democratic Party is they're assholes about military service. Sorry, but it's true. And he's an oyster farmer, which is something I didn't know existed,
Oh.
but
Okay.
it's a thing. Well, I live in Texas. You have to give me
Right.
that.
Right.
And it just sounds very hard and adorable to me. It sounds like a good working class hard scrabble it's the kind of thing that's working class, but it also might appeal to like your espresso drinkers. Okay. So they recruit this guy to run against the newly minted Republican Susan Collins, who's been just a real problem in this hotly contested Maine election for US Senate because they need strong, masculine energy in this party. And Nancy, what do you think is going to happen in this story?
Well, I think that, well, first of all, if people don't know, and they probably do, Susan Collins is a Republican, but she's also been one of the few Republicans that is pretty consistently and visibly voted against Donald Trump. So it's
Right.
not like she's, super, super, super over on the right. I have a question for you, though. When you say the Democratic Party recruited Platner, what does that mean? I mean, I
Well, there
didn't.
were
I think.
strategists that
Okay.
recruited him,
Okay.
and they came to him and his wife and said, "We would like you to run for this Senate seat." And he said, "F off. I have no interest in that. I'm not a politician." So,
Okay.
did you know that he was recruited that way?
I did not know that until
Okay.
this
Okay.
very minute. And then he was running in the Democratic primary against the current senator, if I am correct. Hill, was that her name? And she dropped out.
Jamie something. Yeah, she dropped
She,
out.
she dropped out on the 30th of April. So it's basically him. Now, he is an oyster farmer. He has been for, I think, since 2019. He also is the harbor master. He also does some kind of diving. So, like, he's a dude. He also is a big proponent of the Second Amendment, has a lot of guns, and does come from some money, went to Hotchkiss, which is a private prep school up near where I am upstate. So he is somebody that Maine seems to like. I heard a
I
podcast.
like him. I like him. I'll be
I
honest
know
with you.
that
Like
that's fine.
I immediately had a positive response to this guy. He's got good, I do think that Democrats have a huge problem with men and with the idea of masculinity. And
Yeah,
so you've got this guy that's like a dude's dude, and I like him. He's a Bernie Sanders style populist. He's going to be much more interested in talking about class, oligarchy, whatever that means, and as opposed to identity politics. They're going to move away. This has been the thing that has been so toxic and fatal for the Democratic Party, has been their focus on identity politics, and and the sort of like purity test of whatever, wokeism or whatever it is, that's been fatal. And so they're going to get this guy, and he's not a natural politician, but that might be why he works, right? Because we're hungry. We as a culture are super hungry for authenticity, because you know why? Because politicians are a joke.
I think that you are correct that Maine, especially before we get to why we're talking about him nationally, are interested in him. Maine is very you can't get there from here. They're very uh
Well,
most of Maine is pretty hard scrabble. Okay,
it's
when you
hard scrabble. Like the first time I went to go visit Bangor, which is where a lot of Stephen King books are set, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea this was it's like seriously working class.
definitely,
And
I mean, there's fancy parts of it. There's Kennebunkport, where the Bush family, I believe, has an enclave. There's some fancy
well,
parts where people,
Bar
yeah,
Harbor is
very
very like la-di-da,
preppy
but
and all that. But most of it, I had a college boyfriend who was from Maine, and I was driving up there, and like you're just driving miles and miles. Like people are like, lobster, $4 a pound. Next time, $3 a pound. Next, please buy my lobsters. I mean, they're like, it's not.
yeah,
There's not a ton
yeah.
of money. Did you also know that it is the state, I believe, that has the oldest population in the country
Oh
per
yeah, that's not
capita?
surprising having visited
So,
that place. Honestly, Maine felt like it was 10 years behind the rest of the country.
mhm.
Um like it just looked and felt and moved, and everything just felt a little bit slower, and like they
It
were they
does.
were catching up to the rest of the country.
There's New England, and then it's all of a sudden like you pass that through that part onto Maine, which is not part of New England, right?
Yeah, which
Um,
by the way I found super charming. Like I'm a
yeah,
fan of Maine.
yeah,
But yeah, like
yeah.
this guy, but he's young and he's like pretty cute, and we can talk about whether you think he's cute or not, but like I think he's pretty cute.
He's a
And
dude.
he's a
He's a
dude,
dude.
like he's a
Yeah,
dude's dude.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
like this dude. I listened to an interview he did with Lulu Garcia Navarro,
Hmm.
um on the show The Interview. It's a really interesting interview. I mean, I like her a lot as an interviewer, and it was a really good conversation. And so that's how I learned. I didn't know he was recruited. That's how I first learned about that. So he starts his campaign in August of 2025. And pretty quickly, he is both getting a lot of attention and kind of courting some scandal. And the first scandal happens in October, and it's around some Reddit posts and some things that he put online. Now, all of them had been taken down.
Because he took his Reddit account down when he started to run.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, if you know you're going to run, there's going to be some like, okay, yeah, what should we probably get rid of on the internet? Like if you are a citizen of the 21st century and you now are going to have like the hot eyeballs of the world on you,
The hot
you're going to
eyeballs.
have some things that you'd like to
Yes.
take down. Okay, so there's a little cleaning. These posts are after he came back from the war. He's not in a good place, and he posts some things on the internet. Now, what are they? I mean, it's all sorts of stuff, but like he calls himself a communist at one point. He writes that all cops are bastards, the ACAB. He agrees with a post calling rural white Americans racist and stupid. But the most controversial one actually ends up being a response he made to a story about anti-rape underwear. Okay, which just I remember this because I was at Salon at the time and we were writing things about these silly things, these it was a dumb time in the internet.
What
But
is anti?
some enterprising person would say, "We have invented anti-rape underwear." And then there would be a million blog posts. It's basically a chastity belt, Nancy, and
Okay.
so that people can't have their underwear ripped off or whatever. And like I remember, I don't know if we wrote about it at Salon. I definitely remember seeing it. Some of this also, I mean, there in some of these countries where, like in Africa, where like old fashioned rape is a real problem, and there was like this condom that women could use where you insert it and it's got teeth. It's like a vagina dentata. I swear to God. So it's an anti-rape device where you put it inside. So if some guy tries to rape you, he gets mangled.
So
Sort of wild.
it's like when you're leaving the airport and it says don't back up because those
Yeah,
things are going to
exactly.
sprout up. So like it's fine if you're inside you, but as soon as someone tries to slide in, the teeth come up.
Exactly.
Wow, you'd have to be careful though. Don't make no sudden moves if it's just
Yeah.
inside you, right?
Yeah. I mean, anyway, he writes, how about people just take some responsibility for themselves and not get so fucked up they wind up having sex with someone they don't mean to? Men and women, you make a choice to consume enough of a substance to lose your self control. So if you don't want to be in a compromising situation, act like an adult for fuck's sake.
This is
Um,
I agree with this 100%.
I know you do. I'm
Like
like, where's the lie? Like,
where is the lie? Like, and he said men and women, but I think the
I
reason
know.
why.
Which, by the way, whenever anybody quotes this, they leave that out.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I'd originally seen this in the New York Times piece, and I was like, oh yeah, you can't say that. And then I went back to find the actual quote, and yeah, he says men and women. But I learned early on, and I learned the good old fashioned honest way that you're not allowed to talk about women drinking too much and when it comes to rape, even
Well, then
though
may I
it's a
say something?
completely germane point. But it's okay, look, this post is not befitting a politician, but let's agree this is not a politician, and also it's not 2013. Like this, like in 2013 you were not allowed, quote unquote, to talk that way. But it was stupid. The sort of like you know do not cross tape around this conversation was a huge problem. It was part of what I ran into with my own book.
I find it very. First of all, you wonder why people hate the press if they take out that bit where he said men and women. It's like really fuck you. Like fuck you for not trusting your own argument enough that you have to change someone's quote. I mean, if you're going to be like every woman should be allowed to get blackout drunk and lie in the street naked and no one should even glance her way, then I'm sorry. Then you're deluded. Like you I'm going to say something and it's going to be like that's Nancy, you're going way too far, but it's almost like you are condoning people getting assaulted. They're like, no one should take responsibility for themselves whatsoever because it's the other person who assaulted them. Well, if I'm totally drunk and I'm coming on to you and you're like, yeah, let's get it on, baby. And then the next day I say you raped me, like, what?
Well,
Who
Nancy,
are
you're
you
going way
defending
too
here?
far. You're going way too
I,
far. I
I,
just wanted
I
to say that because you told me I was going to, and I wanted to
okay.
play into your hands.
I just don't
But no, I
understand.
mean, look, I think that this is. I mean, this was a very important conversation for me that I had for many years. There's got to be some middle ground between um, we can do whatever the fuck we want, and it's you can't touch us, and somebody saying that well, I don't know, I got confused in my own point, but here's what I want to say, which is that his point is not terribly nuanced. His point, but I think it comes from a place of frustration, which is that there, it was interesting, like feminists of that time period, they were doing two things at once, which is that they were trying to redefine what rape is. Like, oh, it's not being lunged at from the bushes. It can be intimate violence. It happens between husbands. It happens, they were trying to redefine that. But at the same time, they were trying to keep the conversation away from nuances like what you wear, what you said, how you behaved, which are all super germane if you're not talking about being lunged at from the bushes, if you're talking about a date that went wrong. So, trying to do two things at once doesn't really work for that conversation, but that's what they were trying to do. Not,
I
whatever.
When I get to our hot box, I mean, rape does definitely need to be redefined at some points. Like husbands can rape their wives. There's no doubt about this. Like you have to understand that we are not a man's property that he can do whatever he wants to us. But I always give you so many props for the way you opened Blackout. You're like, don't know where I am, don't know who this is, but I'm on top. So clearly I had something to do with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like I didn't even know you when I was reading this. And I was like, that girl is brave. That girl's brave because she's willing to say, I made decisions, maybe I wouldn't have made them. And
Well,
now
yeah, I
I
think you can argue whether or not that's a decision, because you're
yeah,
sort of on a
yeah.
weird drunken autopilot. But it is, you are when you are that drunk, you sort of come to in the middle of your own life and wonder how you got there. That's not a metaphor; it's literally what happens with a blackout drinker. And I wasn't even trying to make a political point with that. I was trying to put you in the situation of how disorienting, how unmanageable uh,
But you
that
were taking responsibility for it
level
too.
of drinking is. And I think I think one of the tragedies of that period of time in feminism is how much it abdicated responsibility. And I think comments like Graham Platner, somebody who's just been back from a war, where it's you don't get to say like, oh well, men need to change, or what. It's like you fucking take care of yourself, you take care of your bros. Like it's reality on the ground is going to have a really short fuse for this kind of magical thinking of, oh, I get to drink whatever I want and you don't get to do it, you know and you need to, not only that, you need to read my mind and decide what I wanted at that time. But anyway, let's move on from that. um in the next scandal is an exciting one. um There's a tattoo that he has. In 2007, he drunkenly got what he understood to be like a skull and crossbones situation. And it's on his shoulder. And it turns out that that tattoo has some Nazi implications. It's
The
what's called a
Totenkopf, Totenkopf
Totenkopf.
death
It's
head.
something I'd never heard of in my life. But if you were to listen to the fifth column, they're like, "Oh, everybody knows a Totenkopf. Oh, yeah, everybody knows that." Michael Moynihan is like, "Oh, yeah, of course I know it." Now, I had never heard of this thing. Okay, and the question is, did he know that it had this Nazi implication? I.e., is he a secret Nazi? Because there's also some anti-Semitism stuff
Yeah.
floating around in here. Um, I'm gonna tell you, and I think we're gonna disagree about this. Tattoo is a non-issue for me.
I'm gonna I have I think maybe a slightly subtle take on this. I think he probably did not know. It was him and his buddies. They think they were in Croatia. There was a big Nazi party. during World War II. He got this. Who knows if they've like upped their tattoo game. I think he probably didn't know what it was when he
Right.
got it. Okay, fine. But he was like pretty young when he did that. And then he had it for like more than a decade and never sort of knew anything about it. And didn't, I thought, if you're going to be like representing a state, I don't know, it seems like maybe intellectually or artistically or whatever, you might at some point have had some curiosity about what you had tattooed on your body. I mean, I have a tattoo here. People ask me what it is. I can tell you what it is. It's a painting by Ed Ruscha I saw in the San Francisco Museum of Art.
Well,
Okay.
did you know that it has Nazi implications? Because I just looked it up on Wikipedia and it does.
It doesn't. It's 3 ships sailing into the doom, but that's okay.
You're right, it doesn't. But
I think that he should have known. And then when he knew, he might have said, I don't think this is a great idea. I know I got it with my bros, but he didn't do anything about it till it became an issue, and then he had it covered up. Well, I don't know, man.
I mostly agree with you, but let me say this. I mean, I think we actually just disagree on like small areas of degrees. Like, I think there's some evidence to suggest he actually had been told that it had some Nazi implications. I do not think he had any idea when he got the tattoo. I don't.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I would agree with that.
And I think about it back then, whatever, the 90s, the aughts. How many doofuses got that Japanese script or some sort of, and then it turned out to say like Tampax.
Hey, listeners in listener land, and for those of you on YouTube, maybe watching it, thanks for being here. This is the end of the free portion of this episode. If you would like the entire episode, gotta head over to Substack. That's smoke'empodcast.substack.com. Become a paid subscriber. Many ways to do that. You get the full episodes and you get some other niceties and et cetera and et cetera. And if you are over here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button as well. We appreciate it. Tell your friends. Thanks.